Good afternoon. Congresswoman Delia Ramirez. I represent Illinois 3rd Congressional District, and I came along, two of my colleagues, who want to do some such in a moment, to conduct congressional oversight, the responsibility that we have as members of Congress to go into these centers where we know billions of dollars appropriated by Congress are being spent, and also have an opportunity to hear directly from our own constituents. And I have to say, I'm leaving here more concerned and with more questions than when I got here. We got here with probably 4 pages of questions. What we heard, what we saw, is very devastating. A detention center where people have to pay for their aspirin if they get a cold or they have a headache. A detention center where people don't even really get to see their pastor. Or if they need medicine, they get pre-diabetic medication instead of the insulin that they needed when they were arrested. The questions around medical are so deeply concerning. Who gets to be seen, when they get to be seen, if a woman needs health care, how she gets it. And the questions of if someone is miscarrying, do they get to go to a hospital and get the support, or do they get confinement? We have a lot of work to do, a list of questions that we're going to be sending ICE directly. Everything from the conditions of the facility, to the water, to the food, to the fact that people that are here, a constituent of mine that has been here since September, has not been able to be outside since September. He has been confined into that facility with no outdoor time, because no person here gets outdoor time. They get a square where no more than 20 people can be at any given time to stand around and look out to a couple of vents that may bring a little breeze, but no breeze on a day like today. That is where people are being sent with $225 billion that have been appropriated to ICE and CBP with DHS. We have a responsibility when we leave here. We need answers. And we don't want answers 3 weeks from now, because answers 3 weeks from now doesn't give us the assuredness that in any way our constituents are physically going to be okay. And as a member in this delegation, serving in the Committee of Homeland Security, we will be immediately following up with the Secretary about the many things and the many answers that they couldn't give us, or the bold line that we saw happen in this place. I'll pass it now on to Congresswoman Gwen Moore.
Well, thank you so much for gathering here. We are especially grateful to community members from Kentucky that have joined us here and have really spent the time in the community gathering information and gathering data to the extent that they've been able to facilitate our visit and to really lead us toward the questions we need to ask. My name is Gwen Moore. I am the Congresswoman from the 4th Congressional District of Wisconsin. And I was here to visit a particular constituent, a female, Annabelle, who's been confined here since February. My concern around Annabelle has been that, again, as Representative Ramirez has indicated, around medical treatment. Annabelle arrived here and received 2 pregnancy tests to confirm she was pregnant. Subsequently began to bleed and basically and was taken to a hospital, and she has not been able to get her medical records to confirm that she actually had a miscarriage. She's told by doctors she had a miscarriage. And yet, there seems to be a lot of, although these people were very nice here, I don't want people to think that the jailer and the staff here were not polite to us, but there does not seem to be the transparency that we need in order to protect the rights of, it doesn't matter if you're a citizen or non-citizen. When you're in jail, you have a right to be treated like a human being and to receive health care as is needed. We have heard stories and we have seen evidence that women who are confined here are really at risk of having gynecological obstetric and gynecological problems that won't be addressed. There's no medical doctor on duty here. And taking people to the hospital or not taking the hospital seems to be arbitrary. You couldn't see any guidelines. Also very, very concerned about the diet. As Representative Ramirez has indicated, there are billions of dollars that are spent through the Homeland Security budget, and yet people who are diabetic, people who are pregnant, people who have medical conditions, we don't see any difference in their diet. They're heavy on carbohydrates, and the only deviations they seem to make with the diet is to give you something with no salt on it. That is still pasta, that is still rice, or smaller portions if you're diabetic. And that is, of course, from a layman's point of view, is very, very dangerous. We have heard that medical decisions are being made on behalf of the inmates here that are contrary to what their doctors on the outside have recommended. I am also concerned a little bit about the cleanliness of the areas in which were reported to be used for medical, for emergency medical care. And I was told that, the bed I was looking at wasn't really dirty. It was just stained. And so that was the end of that argument. Like I said, one of the things that our supportive team here in the community said that really struck me is that these folks are treated like commodities. That the rate that the Homeland Security is paying them through their contract is over 2 times as much as they get for a regular inmate that would come in through the Kentucky legal system. So this is a business, and it's a business where cutting corners, like not having good food, not differentiating, not meeting people's medical needs, not having a doctor on duty. We see a lot of cost cutting here, and we definitely don't understand it, given the billions of dollars that we have allocated. I'll be ready for questions if you have, and I'll pass it on now to my colleague who is from Kentucky. And thank you.
Hey, I won't add too much. I want to thank Congresswoman Moore and Congressman Ramirez for coming to Kentucky, for doing the job of Congress, which is oversight here. And unfortunately, what we saw today is how necessary that work was. The stories are heartbreaking. And I think what you're hearing is there's no excuse for it. Trump has given ICE hundreds of billions of dollars in the last year. More money in the last year than they got in the entirety of his first term as president. But you have diabetics here who can't get their insulin. You have people here who can't even get an Advil or an aspirin when they have a headache and they're not feeling well. They're sent to a commissary where they're told to buy it and they have no money. Not to mention the fact that 70% of the people ICE is detaining do not have criminal records. That number's even higher in Kentucky. 72% of those detained in Kentucky do not have criminal records, and they are being warehoused in here and not giving access to the medication they need to survive. It's wrong, and it's why we are here doing something about it.
This is wrong.
Hi, my name is Jeff Richardson. I'm a Newport resident and the founder of 3R Fund for Immigrants, which helps immigrants with immigration law issues. I just want to say thank you to you all for coming to shine a light on the people who are held here. We know that in northern Kentucky, virtually all immigrants that end up in custody are picked up due to driving without a license, traffic citations, and they end up being arrested for those, which most of us would be ticketed, and used to be that immigrants would be ticketed. And they end up in ICE custody, and then they're trapped because immigration judges aren't granting bonds anymore since last year. And most disappointingly to me, I'm disappointed that Campbell County has a contract with ICE, but I'm extremely disappointed that we dropped the names of the inmates once their initial charges and traffic offense has been satisfied. Lawyers and families can't find them easily. Clergy can't gain access to them easily. And this is true in Campbell County, and it's true in Campbell County, and it's not true in most jails across America. Voluntarily choose to not reveal the names of people here so that they can be found by their lawyers.
And I mean, I can say that, you know, they were not being honest with us. There's a really big difference between what the inmates were telling us and what they shared with us, and we think we have problems with that. Thank you so much.
I'm Sister Alice Gerdeman. I'm a Sister of Divine Providence. Welcome to all of you who are in the press, etc. And I'm guessing that just about every one of you is a relative of an immigrant. We all have a history of immigration in our own past, either voluntary or involuntary immigration into our country. My grandmother came over from Germany as an immigrant, and on July 4th, 71 of her descendants got together to celebrate her and the family that her presence in this country brought about. We have a strong family. I can tell you, we're all good people. So immigrant families are strong, and they are good. The first three Sisters of Divine Providence, my religious family, came to Newport in 1889. They were immigrant women. They came here to serve and educate immigrant peoples, to make sure there were schools for their children or hospitals when they were sick. We still have members of our own community here in the United States who are immigrants. I have to tell you, we've never been afraid of immigrants. We have found no immigrant that we've worked with, and we've been doing it real steadily since 1889, and that work has spread from New York, where we had a house for immigrants just getting off of the boat, to the southern border, people who had just come across. And I've never heard a story that we had to be frightened of these people. I've heard many stories about how wonderful these people were, how terrible it is that they have to suffer, and the potential that people had to make for a better life was so evident to people along the way. I think a big problem that we have in our country right now is that we live in fear, and it's an unjustifiable fear. If you know a lot of people who come from an immigrant background or who are immigrants and you're not frightened of any of them, why would we hook on to a culture or a political system that says we should be fearful? To me, that doesn't make any sense. It's counterproductive to my own personal experiences, my own life. Why do we hold people in detention for no or very minor problems when we don't detain other people for that, and they aren't a danger to us? It's quite clear. That's not where the criminals are coming from. It's not from immigrant people who come here for security, to make a better life for themselves because they are in danger in the countries that they are in, or because they want their kids to have a chance in this world. That's why they come. We don't need to be fearful like that. That's my people. That's our people to start with. As a person of faith, I think we need to remember one very salient thought. All people, every single one, without exception, is sacred and has dignity by the very fact that they have been born a human being. And that dignity deserves respect. No government, no institution, no individual should dehumanize people or deny who they are as people of dignity, people who need to have an option in this world for a better life and who want to contribute to the better life of all of us here. We desire, as a people of faith and people who don't know they are people of faith, we desire a political and social environment that is rooted in the dignity of human beings and the rights of all. And we know that's possible. It can be done. We are courageous people. As people of courage, we can confront a system to say, this is not us. We will not have you do it in our names. We will try to bend together in courageous action and speaking up, as we were happy to have the representatives with us today. We will bend the political arc toward an arc of justice, an arc of welcoming, and an arc of stability and caring. That is who we really are as people. We need to respect everyone. We're here to say, let us end detentions of immigrant people. They don't need to be locked up. They're not dangerous. They're nobody that we should be fearing. We need legal rights for immigrants, and we need to create a system whereby those people who come for whatever reason to our country to live among us and to make a better life for themselves and for us, that they have a chance to become citizens with a pathway that actually works and helps them. Thank you.
And family separation.
And family separation. Well, sister, you have really put out the vision and call of what we as a society must do. Look, as we did our oversight work and we entered one of the cell spaces, one of the open cells, where there were 65 men currently detained, all sitting on their bed, watching us ask questions about the laundry facility, the phones, how they have to pay at least 10 cents a minute to be able to connect with their family members. And I know that for some 10 cents a minute means nothing, but if you're not receiving any money, that's everything. That means you're not talking to your family member with your loved one, because unless your family member is able to send you money, you are in a very difficult place. But as we toured, as we looked around, and I asked the question, well, tell me, how often do they get to go outdoors? And they pointed to a space that was probably 20 by, what do you think, Congresswoman? 20 by 30 maybe. Said, oh, they all get access to this space here. And every one of the, congregate cell spaces has it. I looked around, I thought, 20 men in this space would be already on top of each other. Do they get balls? Do they get weights? Oh, no, they can just be out there. That's their outdoor time. But they can go to the outdoor time at any time. That's not an outdoor space. Just imagine every show that you have saying about prison. And people have to look up to be able to see a little ray of sunshine. There are people who are detained here, women and men, fathers, daughters, sisters, mothers, that on any given day have to walk out of there and look at their little hole so that they can hope a little that one day their human dignity will be honored. That one day they'll be able to finally see their family again. And the words of one of my constituents that I got to talk to today, who said, Congresswoman, I've been here for 20 years. I have 2 boys, one autistic, suicidal, and the other one was struggling with social anxiety. His little brother says, if Papi doesn't come home, I think my big brother will not make it. We are creating the conditions of family separation. We're creating conditions of death for so many people who came to this country. The only thing you can point to is for looking for a better opportunity at survival from deep poverty, from war, escaping violence, and other things. So I just want to know that this was an important visit for us. I leave here with my heart really feeling the pain and the heaviness of a constituent who would run into the arms of her congresswoman, crying emotionally, asking for help. Two men who are diabetic, who tell me I can't eat meat here. I have to just buy the food from the commissary because there's a canned thing of beans that I could eat, and if I get that, then maybe I can get protein. The inhumane conditions of this place must stop, which is exactly why I have legislation to end this detention, to redirect the money, your taxpayer dollars, to community safety, to housing, to healthcare, to community. And so we will do the follow-up. I know that we have some immediate calls that we have to make as soon as we leave here, because our constituents need medicine, they need a psychologist, they need healthcare, and they need to not die from the inhumane conditions of the food that they're being forced to eat here. I don't know if there are questions to any of us.
Yeah, actually, you had mentioned a couple times now that there were certain things that you were told that contradicted what you were told by your constituents. Can you name some specifics?
Well, I just right away I'll tell you that. We asked them how many women had had miscarriages in this facility, and they basically said that none, or looked at each other. And what we learned is that there was at least one case where a woman was 5 months pregnant with twins, had a birth at that point, 5 months. She sort of disappeared for 3 days, where they put her in solitary confinement. And I don't think she went to the hospital.
She went to the hospital for 3 days. They brought her back, and instead of taking care of her, they put her in confinement.
They put her in solitary confinement. You know, there doesn't seem to be any concern about bereavement counseling or any aftercare. And, you know, as a country that has a really high maternal and infant mortality rate, and a country that always talks about the right to life, this is the exact opposite to your question of what we claim our values